Hello,
Hello, hi
good
there.
afternoon.
How are you?
Hello.
Hello, good to see you. Hello, Dr. Ropa. Hello,
Hello,
Dr. Gumade.
lovely to
Dr.
meet you.
Egbe, you're welcome. Dr. Memuna. I'm
you.
about to start the meeting. I think we're already live now. Okay. So I want to say a very good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone who has joined this Zoom call this afternoon or evening, wherever you might be. You know, we're streaming live and we're reaching people from all over Africa, the UK, as well as the US. And we're so pleased that you have joined us this afternoon. My name is Dr. Moyosori Makinde. I'm a consultant family physician, as well as a board certified lifestyle medicine physician. And I'm the founder of Lifestyle Champions International. I'm welcoming you on behalf of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, as well as the sister organizations of Solong, which include Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine, Bryon's Institute for Health and Wellness, as well as Lifestyle Champions International, who have come together to make this public webinar a possibility. You would know that by now, the World No Tobacco Day is marked annually on the 31st of May every year. And in order for us to raise a campaign that would encourage people to choose healthy lifestyle habits, which foster wellness and which foster a health-related quality of life, we've decided to put this webinar together. So we really want to thank you for joining us, and we expect that many more people will join us along the way. Before we go on, I want to especially thank our panelists who are in the house. We're going to be mentioning them one after the other, introducing them. But if you've seen our flyer, we have Dr. Rupa Jaswal in the house. She's already here, and she's going to be taking one of our lectures. We also have Dr. Catherine Egbe, and we have Dr. Memuna Kadiri. And they're already here, and they'll be facilitating the presentations today. They are seasoned professionals, and we're going to be reading out their bio to you when the time comes. And we also have in the house with us an important personnel, someone who has helped us in spreading and reaching out to other people in the entertainment industry, media and entertainment industry, by the name of Mr. Victor Ohai, and he will be giving us a goodwill message later on in the presentation, in the course of this meeting. We're so glad to have you with us, sir, and we're delighted that you reached out to many people who we believe can benefit from this event. Okay, so we want you to know that we're streaming live on YouTube, and I think on Facebook as well, so that in case people are not able to meet up with this time, we know the weekends are usually very busy, all sorts of events, parties, and a lot of things competing, with this. But we had over 100 people who registered for this webinar, so we look forward to them joining us along the way. I want to see whether we have some of our important guests in the house. And maybe what we'll do is that we'll move the special recognitions to some time later in the event, so that we don't take too much of our time. So I'm going to go ahead to bring on the first presenter. and I'm going to read out her bio to us. Just give me a few minutes to bring up her bio. Okay. So Dr. Rupa Jaswal, she's a private GP and board certified lifestyle medicine physician, and she's a director at the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine in the United Kingdom. She's also part of the advisory council for the Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine, a foremost center for lifestyle medicine, which is situated in Abuja. And so we're glad to have you with us today, Ma. Thank you so much for being here. So we would start your presentation now. And we want as many of us that are here, if you have questions, you have things that come to your mind during the course of this presentation, please just use the chat box function, which is available to everybody, to put in your questions and comments, as well as any contributions you might have. And we also have another, so there are two functions actually. We have the question and answer function, as well as the chat function. So if you want to say hello or thank you to any of the presenters, you could use that chat function. And then the Q&A is for questions that might come up in preparation for the Q&A session at the end of the presentations. So thank you once again for being here. Over to you, Dr. Rupa.
Good morning and good afternoon to everyone from Nigeria, the UK, US and Canada. I'm Dr. Rupa, a GP and lifestyle medicine physician from England. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak today, Dr. Monnier, and many thanks to the Brookfield Centre for Lifestyle Medicine, the Byron Institute, Lifestyle Champions International, and of course, the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. A warm welcome to everybody on this wonderful webinar. I'm just going to share my screen. Over the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be talking to you about what determines good health and the effects of our environment and our behaviours on our health. It's a huge topic, and I'll give you a brief run through covering a few of the stories that are important. I would like you to think about one change that you would like to make for yourself and your community after this presentation, and share it with those around you. I want to share a common scenario. Long working days, poor sleep, being away from the comforts of home, away from loved ones, possibly leading to a lack of routine, grabbing food where you can from fast food outlets or eating in restaurants frequently, and perhaps socialising with alcohol. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Sadly, this way of living can lead to a lower life expectancy and an increased risk of diseases known as non-communicable diseases and poor quality of life. It doesn't read too well, does it? There are many different factors which can influence health which need to be considered, and here are just some of them. Each one has a big impact to our health. If these were optimised, we would reduce our risk of many diseases, and none of these factors can be tackled in isolation. So to help illustrate the extent of the problem further, why do we need to look at how our behaviours and our environment, how they affect our health? Sadly, non-communicable diseases kill 40 million people worldwide. These are diseases which are non-infectious, such as diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. many of which are rooted in poor lifestyle factors which contribute to the disease. It is estimated that the NHS in the UK spends £11 billion a year on lifestyle-related conditions. The director of the WHO was quoted as saying that NCDs have now officially overtaken infectious diseases as the biggest killer worldwide. 98% of us live with a key behavioural risk factor, which are modifiable, such as smoking, poor diet, physical inactivity, and heavy drinking. More than 60% of us live with 3 or more risk factors. This is a map showing deaths due to non-communicable diseases around the world. The darker the colour, the higher the death rate from such diseases. So as you can see, so much work is to be done to improve the outlook. Even more striking, this map shows us the rate of increase in deaths from chronic disease between 2000 and 2015. Again, the darker the colour, the higher the rate of increase. Potential years of lost life is an estimated measure of premature mortality. According to the WHO Global Burden of Disease Study, these are some of the indicators and the associated number in millions of years of life lost. These indicators are recognised modifiable risk factors, and by applying changes to our daily lives, we all have the potential, indeed have a duty, to avert this large number of premature loss of life. This global map highlights this premature mortality. The lighter the green, the shorter the life expectancy, highest in Canada, Europe and Australia, and the lowest around Central Africa. These are some of the categories for good health we will be talking about: food, physical activity, harmful substance use, sleep, and emotional wellness. I will touch on nutrition, which in itself is a huge topic. In summary, we should be eating locally and seasonally, eating real food, not too much of it, and mainly plants. Sadly, the Western diet characteristics have a lack of antioxidants and fibre-containing complex carbohydrates, and an emphasis on low-fibre simple carbohydrates, animal protein, and saturated fats. So to categorise food, Group 1 are our whole foods, recognisable in their natural form and to be eaten freely. Group 2 are substances extracted from whole foods, including oils, fats and flours, and should be used sparingly. And finally, Group 3, the ultra-processed foods and drinks, which should be used minimally or not at all. The truth of the matter is, people are fed by the food industry, which pays no attention to health, and are treated by the health industry, which pays no attention to food. So it is our individual responsibility to choose what we eat wisely. Moving on, this Public Health England infographic shows that physically active people have lower health risks. Physical activity confers a significant reduction in long-term conditions and some cancers. The prevalence of physical inactivity in adults around the world is shocking, with many countries having at least 20% of their population being classed as inactive, being less than 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity per week, or less than 75 minutes of vigorous intensity physical activity per week. A fun fact for you: what is the amount of time the average person spends sitting a day? The answer is 11 hours. Reducing the amount of time sitting per day contributes to being more active and so to better health. Physical activity really is one of our greatest defences. Insufficient physical activity is associated with 5.3 million deaths worldwide annually, accounting for 1 in 6 deaths in the UK, up to 40% of many long-term conditions and some cancers, and around 30% of later life functional limitations and falls. And the evidence for this is there to see. This illustration shows how physical activity has decreased over time since World War II. With the advent of the internet, time-saving and time-wasting technologies has resulted in a 30% reduction in physical activity, making us the first generation to have to consciously schedule in being active. I hope this section has sparked you to reflect on your own levels of physical activity. Moving on to alcohol. Worldwide, 3 million deaths every year result from harmful alcohol use. These 3 million deaths represent 5.3% of all deaths. Alcohol consumption causes death and disability relatively early in life. In the age group 20 to 39 years, approximately 13.5% of the total deaths are sadly alcohol attributable. Harmful alcohol use is not the stereotypical alcoholic, which only represents 10% of alcohol use. At-risk drinking is more of a concern in our everyday lives, with heavy drinking being quantified as any single occasion with 5 or more standard drinks. 40% of drinkers have at least one heavy drinking episode per month. Alcohol is the leading cause of death due to liver disease, road traffic accident injury, 10% of all cancers, and suicide. Some food for thought for you. 3.1 billion adults now do not drink alcohol. 57% of adults worldwide abstained from alcohol in 2016. It is time to challenge our social norms. To keep health risks from alcohol to a low level if you drink most weeks, men and women should not drink more than 14 units of alcohol per week. Alcohol consumption should be spread over at least 3 days if you regularly drink as much as 14 units a week. And if you want to cut down, try to have several drink-free days each week. Smoking. Cigarettes harm nearly every organ of the body and your overall health, increasing your risk of developing heart disease, COPD, impotence, and stroke, for example. Cigarette smoke contains 70 chemical carcinogens, causing a third of all cancers. In summary, being a smoker is life-shortening and will reduce that quality of life. I would like to share with you this advert, which I came across in a book I recently read. Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory and makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It keeps you slim and lowers food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and the flu. It lowers your risk of heart attacks and stroke, not to mention diabetes. You'll even feel happier, less depressed and less anxious. Are you interested? And here we are talking about sleep. We spend a third of our life sleeping. From an evolutionary perspective, it is an essential part of our well-being and survival. Whilst our subjective need for sleep is variable, most of us function best at 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. Healthy sleep is an important factor in maintaining physical and neurodevelopmental health. Red flags of poor sleep include less than 7 hours, more than 9 hours, a 1 hour difference between weekend and weekday sleep, and irregular timing and duration of sleep. Lack of good quality restorative sleep leads to an increased risk of long-term conditions such as hypertension, ischemic heart disease, depression, and cancer, to name but a few. It has been shown that 24 hours of sleep deprivation is the equivalent to a blood alcohol level of 0.1%, rendering you unfit to drive. So I hope all this has sold sleep to you. Moving on to emotional wellness. There are 5 chapters dedicated to mental health and emotional wellness in a well-regarded textbook of lifestyle medicine, highlighting the importance of the impact it has on our physical health and the need to look after it. These are a few factors which can contribute to emotional wellness and a better chance of better physical health. Good social support, purpose in life, and connectedness. It is all very well me advising on how you should be living your daily lives, but patients who are overwhelmed by stress are less likely to engage in healthy habits, and there is a strong interaction between thoughts, feelings, and how we behave. And depression and suicide rates around the world make for sad reading, as this map shows, with the darker red showing higher rates. This graph illustrates a strikingly strong correlation between having a purpose in life and risk of dying. For every 1 standard deviation increase in purpose, the risk of dying over the next 14 years diminishes by 15%. There is a Japanese term, ikigai, which means finding your purpose. As the previous slide showed, the more you increase your purpose in life, the more you lengthen your life. So moving on to connectedness. To use marriage as an example of a relationship, being in a happy marriage is related to better psychological and physical health, as shown in a review of 126 articles over 50 years in 2014. Across all health outcome categories, the meta-analysis showed small but consistent associations between greater marital quality and better health, which may be explained by a number of plausible psychosocial and biological mechanisms. So along with having a purpose in your life, foster those meaningful relationships. So can everybody see my slides now?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. Okay, so I'll carry on where the presentation stopped. I hope you can remember the flow of what we were talking about. So we just finished talking about relationships, and the subject is connectedness. Okay, so what is social connection? It's a subjective experience of feeling close to and a sense of belongingness with others. And there are many benefits of this, of having high social connection, such as a 50% increased chance of longevity, higher self-esteem and empathy, stronger immunity, better emotional regulation skills, and lower rates of anxiety and depression. And the dangers of not having enough social connection are that it can be worse for health than smoking, high blood pressure, or obesity. You will recover more slowly from disease and have higher inflammation at the cellular level. There's also an increased antisocial behavior and violence, and a higher susceptibility to anxiety and depression, and sadly, suicide too. So unfortunately, loneliness, isolation, and alienation are on the increase, and it's the main reason why people seek psychological counselling. So even if you're an introvert, you can still nurture your connectedness. The benefits come from your internal and subjective sense of connection. So as long as you feel connected to others on the inside, you'll still get all the lovely benefits of being connected. And you can nurture this sense of connection further by doing acts of kindness and service for others, taking care of yourself, and asking for help when you need it. So as well as connecting with others, how else can we help ourselves? We should participate in activities in the community. Find healthier ways to relax rather than smoking or alcohol or eating comfort foods. Do activities and hobbies that produce flow, where you lose track of time, and possibly keep a journal for stressful events. And of course, taking care of your spiritual needs. So stress per se is not necessarily a bad influence on mental and physical health, as we have the ability to satisfactorily react to the stressor and avoid a feeling of helplessness. I've purposefully included this large amount of text for you in this slide, and it's a lovely way to bring joy to daily life. So you can nurture positive psychology by producing happiness rather than focusing on lessening misery. Have a positive affect and look at your strengths and virtues, and practice daily habits for happiness, such as finding your signature strengths, counting your blessings, expressing appreciation, and savouring the pleasing things in life. Writing down what one wants to be remembered for, doing regular acts of kindness, and thinking about the happiest days in one's life frequently. So a little science for you to bring it all together and to touch on obesity. Now, we don't know what determines the fat cell limit in an individual, but we do know it's not always size or obesity per se. So while scientists are trying to figure this out, another approach is to look at those factors which cause metaflammation and how closely these are tied to physical measures of obesity. This slide shows a number of inducers of metaflammation identified in the literature, some of which I have covered briefly already. So as can be seen from this, many of these, like inactivity, overnutrition, inadequate sleep, can lead to obesity and hence onto metaflammation and disease. However, a number of inducers like starvation, smoking, and overexercise don't cause obesity, but cause metaflammation and chronic disease. So we need to consider the possibility, therefore, that it's not the obesity per se that's causing the disease, but the things that may or may not otherwise cause obesity. And obesity could just be a signal then that something may be going wrong, but the absence of obesity may not necessarily mean it is not going wrong. There is evidence for the metaflammatory response independent of obesity, the strongest evidence being for poor nutrition, inactivity, inadequate sleep, and pollution. This inflammatory internal environment, known as metaflammation, low-grade systemic inflammation, leads to chronic diseases, lower quality of life, and premature death. So we can help ourselves by addressing these modifiable factors and help each other by working on the less modifiable determinants together, nudging us towards a healthier life. So after hearing what I've shared with you today, please take a screenshot of these questions and ask yourself how you would like to help your present and future health and take the first step towards it. Apply the concept of marginal gains to improving the way we live our lives and subsequently our health, changing our conscious reality. Just imagine how healthful you could feel. So after all, our health is deep-rooted and we have to understand ourselves and our own motivations in order to start making positive changes. So going back to where we started, I hope that what I have said has started the conversation around a change that you would like to make from today and share it with those around you, to nudge us all in the right direction for a healthier community. To end, let's focus on positive additions rather than telling you what you shouldn't be doing or doing less of. Hopefully my talk so far will have given you a good idea of the what not to do's. See it as a quick start menu of ideas and pick your one change. However, remember one factor can affect another, so aim to eventually incorporate them all into your life. Doing more and more of the good stuff will eventually leave less and less space and time for the bad and not so good stuff, creating an abundance of things to help you live a long and disease-free life. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rupa.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Well appreciated. Thank you. That's great. That's great.
You're most welcome.
It's okay. We move. It's okay. Thank you. I will go ahead and introduce the next presenter. Dr. Bay is on the line. She will be the next presenter. Let me quickly introduce. Dr. Egbe, you are welcome, ma. I'll be doing your introduction.
Your network
now.
is a bit poor. We can't hear you.
We are privileged this afternoon to facilitators on ground. Opa for the.
Oh, I think there's something wrong with the other moderators' network. Sometimes we can't just predict what network would be supportive for such webinars. So sorry about that. So I think I'll just go on to introduce our next speaker. I think I'll just go on to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker, her name is Dr. Catherine Egbe. She's a registered research psychologist, and she's also a public health scientist. She holds a doctorate, a PhD in psychology and health promotion from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. I hope I pronounced that well. And she's also successfully completed 2 postdoctoral research fellowships in mental health and tobacco control at UKZN and at the Center of Tobacco Control Research and Education, University of California, San Francisco. She's a member of the Society of Research on Nicotine and Tobacco, that's SRNT. And she also won the Global Health Network Spotlight Award that was 2016 from SRNT. And she served as a section head for the Tobacco Background Curriculum Smoking Cessation Research Certificate Program Package of SRNT University. She's presented her works in several international conferences, and she's also a member of the editorial board of 2 international journals. She presently works as a specialist scientist in the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Drug Research Unit, South African Medical Research Council, and she leads a tobacco research in her unit, which makes her, the best person actually, for this presentation on tobacco use and non-communicable diseases. I must mention also that she was my head girl when I was in high school, and she was such an inspiration way back then, and she still is. She's also an associate of the Lifestyle Champions International, a foundation that seeks to help people make healthy choices wherever they find themselves. So I'm so delighted to have you here, Dr. Catherine. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
Over
very
to you.
much. Thank you very much, Dr. Makinde. I call her Oreti because her twin and herself, they bear almost the same name. So I had to differentiate by calling her Oreti and the other one Oreti and the other one Oreke. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a busy period because this is the period for World No Tobacco Day coming up on Monday, 31st May. And so I'm delighted to be here with you to present on NCD and tobacco use. Let me just start by sharing my screen. Just 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me begin. Thank you for organizing this webinar. I think it's very important because we are having so many issues with health right now, with COVID complicating everything. And I think it's very timely, and it's an important opportunity to remind people to take care of their health in all the ways that are possible. So I'll be talking about tobacco use and non-communicable diseases. I hope I don't get carried away to talk about other things, because tobacco use is just very wide, and there's so many aspects of it that I feel that people need to know, but I would limit myself to talk about non-communicable diseases. And I would just want to apologize ahead that my presentation is very Afrocentric, because I was thinking that we're going to have only persons from Africa participating in this webinar. So I made more reference to Sub-Saharan Africa and Africa as a continent. So you pardon me for that. But most of the things I'll be saying, they will be applicable to other parts of the world as well. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Just 1 second. My screen seems to have frozen. Yeah. Okay, so I will be introducing you to the different types of tobacco products. I'm sure you've seen a lot of them, you've heard about them, but some of them may shock you, because having been in tobacco control for more than 10 years, I have seen people get wild when I mention some products that these are tobacco products, and they say, oh, we didn't know, because of the way that they've been presented in the past. I'll also talk about the link between tobacco and NCDs and tobacco control and NCD preventions, and close with some remarks. So tobacco products can broadly be grouped or categorized as traditional tobacco products and novel or emerging tobacco products. I'm sure we've seen a lot of these new products that are coming up, electronic cigarettes and all this stuff. So we categorize those ones as novel or emerging tobacco or nicotine products, because some of them don't actually contain tobacco, but they contain nicotine, which is one of the components in the traditional tobacco products. Nicotine is actually the addictive substance that is in tobacco. And so traditional tobacco products are categorized as combustible and non-combustible tobacco products. And the combustible ones are just like the name implies, they are products that you need to burn before you consume them, while the non-combustible ones are the ones you don't need to burn. So the combustible ones include your cigars, your cigarillos, of course, the traditional cigarettes that we know, the one in Nigeria we call it cigar, but there's a product called cigar, that's the big one. The ones you see, you know, I'm happy to hear that there's someone from the movie industry here, because a lot of them, when they have these movies, when someone wants to portray and this impression of being a top shot or a very influential person, you see them with a stick of a cigar. That's the big one. That's this one here. And then you have cigarillos, which are called little cigars. They are actually smaller than cigars, but just exactly like cigars, just smaller in size. And then you have the ones we call the roll your own tobacco products. That is, people, the sellers, they sell the shredded tobacco product, the shredded tobacco leaves, and then they sell the paper, or sometimes people just go get their own paper, and then they put the shredded tobacco on the paper and they roll it themselves. So that's where the name comes from, roll your own. And then you have the very popular nowadays, the shisha, which is called hookah, water pipe. This used to be very popular in the Eastern Mediterranean region, but it's now becoming, has now become a global product. And some persons actually think it's not tobacco, but it is, because what is put on the top there that burns, it's a tobacco product. It's actually tobacco. And of course, we have the pipe, which we know that many old people are very keen to use, or are usually found among the older population. Sometimes the society makes you believe that it's a sign of old age, or should I say the industry makes you believe it's a sign of old age, but it's a tobacco product as well. And then we have the non-combustible tobacco products. I don't know why my screen is, okay. The non-combustible tobacco products, which are also referred to as smokeless tobacco products. So just like the name implies, they do not require burning for consumption, and they include the snuff, snus, dissolvable tobacco, and chewed tobacco. So some of them, you apply them into the nostrils. The others you put in between the cheeks. Some you put in the mouth, and they are all products that you don't need to burn before you consume them, but they have their own risk that they carry. And then we get onto the novel or emerging tobacco products. They are usually, they were made to satisfy some of the needs, including the delivery of nicotine that smokers currently enjoy while smoking. So the tobacco industry created these in order to kind of step over some of the laws that have been made to prevent people from smoking. And so we have so many of these products nowadays. We even have some of the traditional ones in their e-versions, like e-hookah, e-pipes. And so they are usually marketed as, or they are marketed as products that are supposed to be less harmful than the traditional tobacco products. But there is really not enough evidence to show that they are that much less harmful compared to the way they market them. So some of these products are actually as harmful as cigarettes. And they include products like the e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes are of two types. I'll talk more about that later. And then we have the heated tobacco products, which the industry prefers to call heat not burn products because they want to create the impression that this is not burnt, but it's just heated. And so example of the heated tobacco product is the one you see on the right, IQOS, which is made by Philip Morris International. And then you have the ends, the one you see under here, the jewel. Jewel is not, I don't know of any part of Africa where you can find jewel, but it's more popular in the US. And then you have the heats that you see there, the one beside, just on top of the jewel, it's the little cigar that is put in the IQOS, the little cigar that is put in the heated tobacco product that is smoked. They are actually tobacco. They are not electronic cigarettes, but they are tobacco. So electronic nicotine and non-nicotine delivery systems. I just want to mention that sometimes people think that all electronic cigarettes contain nicotine, not all of them. So these are called electronic cigarettes generally, sometimes referred to as vapes or e-cigs. They are actually battery-powered devices which are made to heat up a liquid that is called e-liquid. And this liquid, when heated, produces vapor that is inhaled by the user. And the inhaled vapor may contain nicotine or not, because sometimes they just contain flavorings and other toxins and other substances that are put in the e-liquid, but they don't contain nicotine. But most of them contain nicotine. Now, we also need to note that some people use the electronic cigarettes to vape cannabis products like THC oils and other components of cannabis. And I don't know if we can remember the disease called EVALI that was happening mostly in the US. It happened, there were a few cases in the UK, and I think Canada, I can't remember very well, but it was mostly in the US just before COVID came up. That was the disease that was killing people, and it was a lung disease. It was caused mostly by people who were using the e-cigs to vape THC oils, but some of them were vaping normal cigarettes, e-cigs, but not all of them. Most of them were vaping THC oils. So we, like I mentioned, we also have e-hookah and e-cigs. I just put this picture here. Sometimes we see these products marketed as products to help smokers to quit, but if you look at the marketing strategy that is used, you will know that they are targeting young people. They are targeting young people to recruit them. So this picture, I took this picture in one of the vape shops in South Africa, and you can see that it looks like a place where children can go have ice cream, but it's actually a vape shop. So some may ask, what's the difference between cigarettes, heated tobacco products, and e-cigs? So I decided to put something here just to give you some of the basic differences. So it's mostly in relation to the heat that is applied on the product before the user uses them. So cigarettes are usually heated for between 600 to 900 degrees Celsius. Of course, cigarettes contain tobacco, nicotine and tar, and over 700 chemicals. About 70 of these chemicals are known carcinogens. That is, they've been classified as cancer-causing chemicals. About 250 of them are known to be harmful, but about 70 of them are known carcinogens. They cause cancer, known. Now, heated tobacco products are heated for to about 350 degrees Celsius. They can also contain tobacco. They contain nicotine and tar and some other chemicals that are found in cigarettes. Now, the difference is that because cigarette is heated so high, it contains more chemicals. And because as heat is applied, the heat creates more chemicals with the components that are there. So maybe slightly less chemicals, but then it also contains many chemicals found in cigarettes. While the e-cigarette is heated from about 100 to 250 degrees Celsius, most of them contain nicotine and some other chemicals found in cigarettes as well. So I just want to talk briefly about the prevalence of tobacco use in sub-Saharan Africa. So this is quite dated, but it was the only a piece that I could find that could give me something that had a lot of countries. So I decided to use it. So I just want to mention that it's expected that this rate may have increased because this is about between 5 to 10 years old because of the source of the data. So we find out that in Africa, we have prevalence of smoking varying from about 34% to about 5%. And I just need to mention that in as much as we have these high prevalence, for example, in Sierra Leone, when you compare Africa to other continents of the world, Africa still has the lowest prevalence of smoking. And while that is good for us as a continent, it's also a reason why the tobacco industry targets the continent. Because the tobacco industry sees that, I'll show you another slide where you would see that in the Western world, in Europe and America, the prevalence is reducing up to about 44%, while in Africa, it's increasing up to about 50%, more than 50%. So while we celebrate that we have a low prevalence, we want to keep it low. We are at the early stage of the tobacco epidemic. Countries where they've had very high prevalence of smoking, they have high prevalence of tobacco-related disease as well. But unfortunately for us, the tobacco sees it as a potential for increasing their market share. So you find them doing a lot of marketing using very unconventional means and methods that have been condemned and even prohibited in the Western world. They come to Africa and then they use these methods and try to get young people to be recruited into to become smokers. I must mention that more than 80% of those who currently smoke started smoking while they were teenagers. More than 80% of those who currently smoke started smoking when they were teenagers. So there is hardly anyone who starts smoking at 25. And that is why you see the industry makes the marketing of their product target young people, even though they say that they are not targeting young people. Like the picture I showed you about the e-cigarette shop. If you see that e-cigarette shop and what was displayed in the shop, you wouldn't think it's for an adult. You think it's for young people. But because they know that once they get the young people hooked, then they become lifetime smokers. That's why they target young people. Smokeless tobacco in the continent is thankfully also low. Just 1 second. I don't know what's happening with the slide. Sorry. Okay. Before I go on to smokeless tobacco, this is the slide I was talking about, showing the different WHO regions. So you have Afro. Afro is basically sub-Saharan Africa plus Algeria. Sub-Saharan Africa has 46 countries, and Algeria, which is in North Africa, is included in the WHO Afro region. EMRO is the Eastern Mediterranean, Euro, and the Americas is AMRO. Southeast Asia is CRO, and Western Pacific is WPRO. So if you look at this slide, you would see that for between 1980 and 2016, the smoking prevalence in Africa has increased, or should I say, sorry, cigarette consumption has increased by 52%. Take this to Europe and you see that it has decreased by 33%. To the Americas, it has decreased by 44%, but in Africa, it has increased by 52%. So looking at the epidemiology of smokeless tobacco products, you see that it's quite low all around Africa. South Africa, for example, is within the range of 5 to 9.9%, and Nigeria is within the range of 1 to 4.9%. Most of Africa, of sub-Saharan Africa, have very low smokeless tobacco use as well, thankfully. So I'll want to talk next about the link between tobacco and non-communicable diseases. So presently, the estimate shows that about 8 million people die each year from tobacco-related diseases. That is 15% of global death. Now, I must mention that of the 8 million people who die from tobacco-related diseases, 1.2 million of them don't smoke. So how did they get this disease? Because they are exposed to other people's smoke. So 1.2 million of those who die of tobacco-related diseases die because of exposure to secondhand smoke. Tobacco use is the leading cause of preventable death globally. Globally. Preventable because it is something we can stop. Now, by 2030, the estimation is that about 16% of all deaths, which should be about 10 million people per year, would be happening if nothing is done. Unfortunately, 80% of this would be in low and middle income countries. And we all know that sub-Saharan Africa has mostly low and middle income countries. Only about a handful, less than 5 countries are categorized as high income or higher income countries. So the estimation is that by 2100, 1 billion people would have died from tobacco-related diseases. Smoking prevalence in sub-Saharan Africa is increasing. The estimation is that it will continue to increase if nothing is done. And so that's the reason why we need to look out, we need to appreciate webinars like this, hopefully to get to the right ears to continue to do what is right to protect the people from these impending dangers. Okay, so the health consequences of smoking and exposure to secondhand smoke evolve over time. I'm sure many of you have seen, for example, a pregnant woman smoking, or a nursing mother with a child. I've seen a child being, carried around and the mother smoking just on top of the child's head. And so you begin to wonder, what is the effect on this child? So this chart just shows you what happens, some of the things that happen to people from even up to as early as when a pregnant mother is smoking. So it can lead to, it can create problems with the growth of the fetus. It can lead to low birth weight. It can lead to abortions even, and premature birth, and even death of the fetus, or sudden infant death syndrome. Children before the age of 5 dying. Now, it can also affect the health of the infant because it can affect the physical growth of the child, and even the behavior and cognitive development, because nicotine affects brain development. It can cause respiratory infections and increase hospitalization. So these are things that have been found in research. I'll talk more about some of these things later. At adolescence, it can affect the small airways, cause cough, wheezing, increased phlegm production, and other respiratory symptoms. As adults, it can lead to chronic bronchitis, emphysema, lung cancer, and many other cancers, which I'll talk more about later. And of course, coronary heart disease, stroke, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Sorry. So tobacco and NCDs. So there are 4 lifestyle behaviors. Some of them, Dr. Rupa has mentioned them. There are 4 lifestyle behaviors that are said to be responsible for 60% of global death, and 4 chronic conditions. And these are physical inactivity, poor nutrition, tobacco use, and alcohol use. So the 4 chronic conditions that were mentioned by the WHO are cancer, diabetes, heart and lung diseases. Now, if you look at these 4 chronic conditions, tobacco use is linked to all 4 of them, And so I'll talk more about each of them as we proceed. So tobacco and cancer. So tobacco use causes many types of cancer. If you look on your right, you'll see a picture, and that picture shows you the years when these cancers were discovered to be linked with tobacco use. And then on your right, you will see other diseases. So for example, leukemia was found to be linked to cancer in the year 2002. The earliest was actually lung cancer in 1964, lung cancer, and then COPD in 1964. And then there are so many others, including cancer of the bladder, the ureter, cervix, kidney, pancreas, and esophagus, and so on. So I just want to mention that people who use smokeless tobacco, they are more susceptible to cancers of the mouth because, of course, they're using either they're putting it through their nostrils or through their mouth. And then they also have an increased risk of esophagus, cancer of the esophagus, and pancreas. So we all know that cancer is one of the single leading cause of death worldwide. Last year alone, it killed about 10 million people. In sub-Saharan Africa, it killed almost 800,000. We had almost 800,000 cases. Now, it is estimated that this number will reach 1 million in this decade. So, if nothing is done to prevent, to help people to prevent cancer, we would be having higher numbers of cancer cases reported in sub-Saharan Africa. And one of the ways to prevent cancer is to stop smoking, is to prevent people from smoking. So the WHO reports that Africa is expected to have the highest incidence of cancer by 2030. And that is scary. I don't know about you, but it scares me really, especially when you see that there's not much that is being done to prevent people from smoking. So, tobacco and diabetes. So, tobacco smoking has been found to cause type 2 diabetes. And this is it has a dose-response relationship. So, the more cigarette the person smokes, the higher the risk of type 2 diabetes. So, between 30 to 40% of smokers will develop type 2 diabetes. And people with type 2 diabetes, they are more likely to have problems controlling their insulin level and even managing their diabetes. So no matter the type of diabetes they have, smoking will make it harder for them to manage the disease. We all know that diabetes cannot necessarily be cured, but it can be managed. So if someone is a diabetic and the person is smoking, it leads to more health complications, which means that one of the ways that you can help someone who is a diabetic to control their diabetes is to help them to stop smoking if they are smoking. So I saw this online and I decided to show it here because it quite captures the message, in 3 very easy steps or statements. It says smoking and diabetes, both of them reduce the amount of oxygen that is reaching your body tissues, which means that there's poor circulation of oxygen in your body. And then smoking raises your blood sugar level, which makes it harder for you to control your diabetes. And then of the people with diabetes, those who need amputations, 95% are usually smokers. So that means there's an increased risk of someone who is a smoker, who is diabetic, having an amputation. Sorry. And my slide seems to have ceased. Just trying to manage it. Okay, so tobacco and cardiovascular disease. So we've talked about tobacco and cancers. We've talked about tobacco and diabetes. This is now tobacco and cardiovascular diseases. So I am showing you this diagram. I'm not going to talk much here. I'll talk more about this diagram in the next slide. But I just want you to look at the right and see some of the substances or the chemicals that are components of the tobacco smoke. So you have carbon monoxide, you have tar, you have butane, ammonia, methanol, formaldehyde, cadmium, which you find in car batteries. And then you have hydrogen cyanide, that is used to, to poison people, maybe on death row in some countries. You have arsenic, which you can find in rat poison. You have acetone, which you can find in nail polish, nail varnish remover for the females. So, and then of course you have nicotine. Nicotine you can find in pesticides, and nicotine is also available in some other forms for those who want to stop smoking. We'll talk more about that later. So this schematic diagram just shows you the pathway through which these substances can affect the body, but I'll talk more about in this slide. So I'd mentioned that the tobacco smoke contains about 7,000 chemicals. Over 250 of them are known to be harmful. About 70 of them are known carcinogens. Carbon monoxide, which is one of the ones I mentioned earlier, is one of the constituents of tobacco smoke. And we know that when carbon monoxide is present with oxygen in the body, the red blood cells, which helps to transport oxygen from one part of your body, from the lungs to your heart and different organs of the body, carbon monoxide, the blood has a higher affinity for carbon monoxide whenever it is present with oxygen. And that is why when someone smokes, the person reduces the amount of oxygen that gets to the body, the tissues. So the nicotine also causes blood pressure and heart rate to increase, which gives more work to the cardiovascular system. So that means because it gives more work to the cardiovascular system, including your heart, people who use tobacco are more likely to have heart attacks, high blood pressure, blood clots, strokes, hemorrhage, aneurysm, and other disorders of the cardiovascular system. Smoking actually triples the risk of dying from a heart disease, and it's a major cause of stroke because it damages the lining of the blood vessels. So, and just like I mentioned earlier about the dose response of diabetes and smoking, the same goes with heart disease. It's a dose response one, which means the more cigarettes and the longer you smoke, the worse the outcome. So respiratory diseases, I've mentioned some of them earlier, like COPD, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and asthma. So this Surgeon General report, there have been several Surgeon General reports which seeks to look at the evidence and tries to help to synthesize the evidence about about the cause of different diseases. Tobacco has received a lot of attention by this report, and this one reports about how tobacco smoke causes diseases. If you have time, you can Google it. I think it's free online. You'll see a lot of things, a lot of pages, but you'll see the executive summary, which will give you like a synopsis of what they found. So the diseases that were linked, the respiratory diseases that were linked to tobacco smoking included chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and asthma. Now I put tuberculosis and put an asterisk by tuberculosis because smoking does not cause tuberculosis, but it exacerbates tuberculosis. So if someone has tuberculosis and the person is a smoker, it reduces the chances of the person recovering. It increases the chances of the person having recurrent episodes or the person having even drug-resistant tuberculosis. Because the person keeps coming back, having taken the drug, comes back again, and the person needs to take more drugs, and of course the bacterium gets resistant to those medication, and the person would need more tougher treatment to get cured. Now, one of the things mentioned, or some of the things mentioned about how smoking causes respiratory diseases are contained in the Surgeon General's report. I've just put this screenshot here of the evidence that was reported, and it says there is sufficient evidence to infer a causal conclusion between smoking and acute respiratory illnesses, including pneumonia. It's and as well impaired lung growth during childhood and adolescence, onset of decline in lung function, asthma, poor asthma control, COPD, and a reduction in lung function in infants of mothers who smoked while they were pregnant. And I mentioned earlier that 1.2 million of those who die of tobacco-related diseases, they do not smoke, which means it's either their mom is smoking, or their father is smoking, or their parents are smoking, or the wife is smoking, or the husband is smoking, and the other person who is not smoking in the house tend to get to take in the smoke. I must also mention, it's not contained in my slide, but I must also mention about third-hand smoking. So this is second-hand smoking, but there is third-hand smoking, where the person inhales the smoke. I don't know, many of you may have gone into a hotel to book, and then when immediately you get into the room, you find out that the place is smelling of tobacco smoke. That is because the curtains, the wall, the paint, the furniture in the room has been contaminated by the chemicals from the tobacco smoke. And so when they get stuck in these materials, when oxygen reacts with them, they create more substances, and they are also dangerous. I personally react to them, so I'm talking from experience, but there's been studies that have been conducted about the harmfulness of third-hand smoke as well. So there's no safety when it comes to smoking. So these are some of the diseases caused by secondhand smoke. I just want to move fast so that I don't delay too much. And I'll talk about the good news. The good news about the whole thing that I've mentioned is that whatever it is that tobacco causes is totally preventable. The mortality, the deaths, the morbidity, it's preventable. And the evidence-based best buys that have been found, you can find them in a document called the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. It's an international treaty. It contains some of the things that countries should do to prevent people from smoking. So the world, the WHO FCTC is the world's first and widely supported global treaty. It was adopted in 2003, and it entered into force in 2005. And it was done in response to the globalization of the tobacco epidemic. Too many people were dying from tobacco-related diseases. And so countries came together and they said they needed a common approach to prevent this. Presently, as of last month, there are 182 parties to the treaty, which represents about 90% of the world's population. The parties are obliged to prioritize the protection of public health through the implementation of these strategies that have been mentioned in the document itself, as well as its guidelines. So thankfully, the SDG also contains a component, one of the targets, which calls for countries to implement the WHO FCTC, specifically target 3A of the SDG. So this is just a summary of the articles in the WHO FCTC. It's way longer than this, but this is just a summary. And it's actually looking at how to reduce demand and reduce supply of tobacco products. And there are so many measures that they've talked about, including preventing people from being deceived. For example, using advertisement. I'm sure many of you noticed that there are no longer tobacco adverts in like TV, newspapers. You don't find them. They've been banned because of the FCTC. Unfortunately, the tobacco industry has become very innovative in the way they advertise their products. So now, instead of, because they have been prevented from using the TV, the newspapers, they now use social media, and unfortunately, they now use movies. So they do product placements. They make people believe, even when you see a scene that doesn't really need someone to be smoking, you see someone smoking. And that is really, not really nice, because first of all, you have to think about the health of even the actor or the actress. And then you think about the impression that they are creating to people. I did some studies with young smokers in Nigeria many years ago, and well, I was asking them a question about how did you start smoking? And you'll be surprised what they said. Some of them said, I saw it that in the movies they portrayed like it's a nice thing to do. It's something that you need to do if you want to be successful, and so many things that they said. And so the reason why the WHO came on board is to prevent such things from happening. And so I really would call on the people in charge of the movie industry in Nigeria and all other parts of Africa to please take note of this, that product placement creates more smokers. And if you create more smokers, you are creating more people who are going to die of tobacco-related diseases. So I'm just going to jump over this because it's a whole lot. I can give a whole lecture on the WHO-CTC. So my closing comments, tobacco will kill over 175 million people worldwide between now and the year 2030. That's huge. COVID is killing how many millions now, and we're shouting, but this is tobacco doing it silently. And because we're not seeing it being done dramatically, we think that it's not very important. So Africa as a continent is home to 54 countries, which are mostly low and middle income countries, like I said earlier, but they are expected to have the largest increase in NCD deaths over the next decade. Nearly half of the population of Africa already suffers from hypertension. And you know that hypertension is a precursor to non-communicable diseases as well, such as heart attacks and strokes. The WHO has already identified 4 major categories of non-communicable diseases, and these 4 categories of NCDs share 4 key risk factors: tobacco use, harmful alcohol use, physical inactivity, and unhealthy diet. All these 4 key risk factors are modifiable behaviors. And because Africans have, the African continent has the youngest population, the lowest prevalence, they are beginning to start smoking at a younger age, due mostly to the aggressive marketing by the industry. This means that if younger people are getting to start smoking, there's going to be both increased exposure to secondhand smoke and increased risk of non-communicable diseases in our continent. So what's the future? The future is for us to have comprehensive tobacco prevention and control policies. I will also add here that we need to have increased awareness raising. This webinar is one of such. And I believe that if that is done, it will help to reduce or increase the awareness in the community or in the society, and also alert governments to do the needful. Many governments are putting in place laws, including that of Nigeria and South Africa and other countries. The biggest problem is implementation. So they are trying to put FCTC compliant laws in place, but many of them are not implementing these laws. Nobody is checkmating the industry. Nobody is making sure that people are doing the right thing. When you say that a place is supposed to be smoke-free, nobody is making sure that that place is actually smoke-free. Nobody is making sure that people who are not smoking are protected from the smoke of those who are smoking. So the proper integration of these policy interventions in different areas can make the big difference that we're trying to achieve, both for the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, and even for the healthy continent that we want. Now, other ways that we can address tobacco use, apart from the policy aspect, is for us to have smoking cessation interventions. Unfortunately, most countries are not doing very well in this regard. We have many ways that people can stop smoking. They can use pharmaceutical cessation aids. I'm not talking about electronic cigarettes, because the industry tries to sell electronic cigarettes as cessation aids. They are not evidence-based cessation aids. They are being promoted as that, but they are not. Evidence shows that they are not. So we have nicotine replacement therapy in the form of nicotine patch, nicotine gum, nicotine lozenge, nicotine inhaler. These are substances that have very low amounts of nicotine, so that when someone wants to stop smoking, the person helps, the product helps to wean the person off the nicotine addiction so that they can now finally stop. But they are not known to be as effective as if you combine them with psychological interventions. Psychological interventions include brief counseling, motivational interviewing, and using the 5 A's tobacco treatment protocol, which is usually referred to as the ask, advise, and so on. I don't want to go into details about that. Then a combination of both, like I mentioned, is much more useful, much more effective. And of course, some people just quit. My father smoked for some years, and the doctor told him when he had symptoms of stroke, doctor told him, if you don't quit, you're going to die. And he quit that day. So some people quit cold turkey. It's hard because of the addiction to nicotine, but it is possible. Now, what are the benefits of smoking? This is my last slide. What are the benefits of smoking? The benefits of smoking starts even from a very, very short period. So as early as 20 minutes when someone stops smoking, the blood pressure drops down. It drops down to normal. About 8 hours, the carbon monoxide comes back to normal. The carbon monoxide in the smoker's body comes back to normal. In 2 days, the chance of having a heart attack decreases. All the nicotine would have left the body between 2 and 3 days. By 2 weeks, circulation of the blood and would have improved, and this will continue to improve as the person continues to be smoke-free. Between 3 to 9 months, coughing, wheezing, breathing problems, they all reduce by that time, and the function of the lungs begin to improve. The function of the lung begins to improve. By 1 year, the risk of heart attack would have been halved. By 5 years, the risk of having a stroke will be like that of a non-smoker. But it only takes up to about 15 years for the person who was a smoker to return back to have the body return back to how it was before the person was not smoking. So it's a journey, but it is worth taking. And that is why the WHO theme for this year's World No Tobacco Day is commit to quit, because quitters are winners any day, anytime. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Catherine Egbe, for this insightful presentation on tobacco use, as well as non-communicable diseases. You've been able to pack such a very wide topic into this 25-minute presentation, and we really appreciate you. I know you're going to get some questions. I can see some questions already in the chat box for our presenters, and I know that during the Q&A session, we'll be able to sort out all of that. At this time, I want to recognize the presence of the President of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Ifeoma Moye. She's one of our moderators today. She's a chief consultant, family physician at the National Hospital, Abuja, Nigeria. And she's also the founder of the Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine, one of the partner organizations who are hosting today's webinar. And we're so glad to have you in the house. She's also an IBLM board certified lifestyle medicine physician. And she's going to be taking over from here. You're welcome, Ma. We're glad to have you.
Thank you so much.
As we go on to the next presentation.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moyosore Makinde. Thank you for a great job you've done, and thank you to everyone who has been here all afternoon. Very special thanks for sparing precious Saturday afternoon to sit and listen to this. But I'm sure that so far you know that the kind of stuff that's been told so far is really precious information. I want to especially thank our presenters, Dr. Rupa Jaswal. Thank you so much, my dear friend Rupa, for spending your afternoon with us. I want to thank Dr. Catherine Egbe also, who has given us a real presentation. And also thank you to Dr. Kadiri, who is going to come up next. Before you come up, please permit me to thank and recognize in a special way the presence of some presidents and chairmen of associations. I want to thank the president of the Directors Guild of Nigeria, Mr. Victor Okai, who has given some talk earlier. Thank you so much for all the part you've played in putting this together as well. We are really grateful. And I want to thank the members of the Directors Guild of Nigeria who are present here. And I hope that you will take all this message back to your colleagues. Okay. I want to also thank and recognize the presence of Mr. Israel Ebo, who is the president of the National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners. Welcome, sir, and welcome to all your members who are present here with you. Also to thank Mr. Abdul Mohammed, especially welcome you and recognize your presence. You are the chairman of the Association of Voice-Over Artists, AVOA, Caretaker Committee. You're welcome, sir. And please, if there are other presidents who are here present, kindly let the panelists know by sending a message on the chat so that we can recognize you. Thank you. But also want to thank the members of the following associations who are here with us. Association of Movie Producers, Association of Theatre Arts and Motion Pictures Practitioners Association of Nigeria, Creative Designers Guild of Nigeria, members of the Script Writers Guild of Nigeria, members of the Motion Pictures Practitioners Association of Nigeria. Special welcome also to Independent Television Producers Association of Nigeria, Association of Motion Pictures and Entertainment Editors of Nigeria, Association of Movie Content Owners and Distributors, Film and Video Producers and Marketers Association of Nigeria, Cinematographers Society of Nigeria, and the Congress of Edo Movie Practitioners. And please, if there's any association or society that I've not called, and especially, well, send your name to the chat and we will love to let everyone know that you're here and you're part of this very great presentation where we are raising awareness, like Dr. Catherine said earlier, about the dangers of smoking. And I like that one of the last slides that you shared, Catherine, the one telling us about the benefits of smoking cessation, starting as early as, 45 minutes or so after you've stopped smoking? Wow. I think that's one slide that everyone should, kind of commit to memory and tell people about this. The benefits are quick there, and if you keep staying off smoking tobacco or any of those things, the benefits are really, really rewarding because you're going to live healthier, happier, and longer. Your bank statement will thank you for it. I don't know if somebody has mentioned already, but just the amount of money spent on tobacco and all the other things that people smoke, just the amount of money you will save and do something else with that money, you'll be very glad that you did. Without further ado, may I welcome this time our third presenter. Dr. Maimuna Kadiri is going to be talking to us about the new normal, adapting to thrive. Dr. Kadiri is a Nigerian mental health advocate, a psychiatrist, and psychotherapist. She advocates for mental health speaking at events, television shows, and as a columnist at the Guardian newspapers. She produced Little Drops of Happy in 2017 to create awareness about mental health in Nigeria. She is the founder of Pinnacle Medical Services Limited. Before I call you, Dr. Kadiri, A warm welcome to all members of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. You are very specially welcome. You make this happen. Particular welcome to the members of the executive of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. Thank you all very much. Dr. Kadiri, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my president. Thank you, everyone on board. I'm glad to be here, and it's a good time things like this are happening. The Society for Lifestyle Medicine is very key, very important, and of course, very useful. We all want to have those lifestyle changes that will not only allow us to just survive, but of course, thrive amidst the chaos and find joy in the jungle with the global pandemic. I remain Dr. Memuna Yusuf Kadri, a leading and voice for mental health, changing narrative, normalizing mental health conversations, and creating safe spaces in order to achieve healthier, wealthier, and happy individuals for a just and equitable society. I'm so sorry I don't have slides. I know this is not, I've already told behind the scene, the members behind the scene that I just had to stop to make sure I do this before I move on to where I am. Duty calls, and sometimes being a doctor, you can wake up and something will just happen all of a sudden. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm sorry if there's a need for slides, I can send them over. But my topic, I think, is a very pertinent and important topic that each and every one of us not only need to understand, but serve as a reminder with all what is happening to us now. COVID-19 came, it happened, right? But now we are not just in that global pandemic again, but we all just want to see that a lot of things are changing as we are also changing. This might have been a physical meeting, but now we are all virtual, and nobody really cares about physical things again. They are all more about send that link, send me, is it a Zoom meeting, is it a Google Meet, is it a Teams meeting? That is what the world is all about as it is. The global pandemic is here, but within the global pandemic, there are two pandemics that are not named as global. The increase in gender-based violence with increase in domestic violence, child molestation, rape cases, that is one, which is a pandemic within the pandemic. And the increase in the rate of mental illnesses, which is another pandemic within the pandemic. And Nigeria spared, sorry, and Nigeria spared among what is happening in the world? Absolutely no, Nigerians are not spared. But this period has come with the good, the bad, and the ugly. The ugly being that people are dying and people will continue dying. The good is that people have started seeing some changes. Those that had fertility issues and they keep telling them, you know, you have to stay around to make sure that your wife gets pregnant. We had couples that are not pregnant within this period. It's a good thing because yes, we're not saying the pandemic shouldn't go, it should go, but those are some of the benefits that came with this pandemic. We've now had a lot of people, you know, being happy with the fact that there's now more family bonding, more time for their children, learning new skills. People didn't know the word pandemic. If you're not a doctor and you're not in the health sector, you will not know what the word pandemic is. But now, even our children know what the word pandemic is. But what is the bad thing in this global pandemic? This increase in the rate of mental illnesses. Hence the reason for my discussion today, mental health, the new normal, adapting to thrive, not only surviving, but thriving. With that word pandemic, I want us to see it as a way that the COVID-19 virus has affected us mentally. I want us to be able to go away with words that we can really relate to, words that we will not forget easily, words that when you go home, you have a deep, you know, time for yourself, reflection to know how has this affected me? How has this affected my relative? How has this affected my loved one? So I'm going to use the word pandemic as an acronym to emphasize the way COVID-19 has affected us mentally. And what is this acronym for the pandemic word? P is panic. Who didn't panic when the world was declared a global pandemic? I'm sure those that are in UK and other developed countries, we saw, those of us in Nigeria, people running to buy tissue paper, people stocking up. In fact, the pantries were all filled up. But what is the panic right now? Though it has died down, but in Nigeria and in some other low and income middle countries, you find out that people are worried about vaccine equity. we cannot get herd immunity if the number of people that are still yet to be vaccinated is very few. And of course, this is a major issue in low and middle income countries. So the panic is still there. Those of us in Nigeria that have had our first dose, some people are worried whether we'll have our second doses. And the good news is that we are going to have our second doses. So, but again, there are some people that haven't, gotten the full impact of what is happening. A is anxiety and fear. There was a lot of anxiety. Will I have COVID? If I have COVID, will I survive? Is the anxiety and fear still there? Yes. People have lost their jobs. People are yet to get, a full grab of the full impact of what is happening. A lot of fears that we projected onto our children because of, you don't know, a lot of the uncertainties that came with it. What about the end? I don't know about those that live outside Lagos, but we, the Lagosians, not sleeping well is like part of us. It's like a day-to-day activity. You see folks closing from work 4 o'clock, getting home around 10 p.m. They have to wake up around 4 a.m. to prepare to go to work again. I don't know the kind of lifestyle they are living, but that is something that truly is not, it doesn't go well. But with the pandemic, it became even worse because it changed everybody's sleep cycle. Your day became night, your night became day because we are working remotely, children schooling online, and that became a major issue that we needed to deal with. That is the end. The D and the E, it's like brother and sister. D is depression and E is experiencing suicidal thoughts. People will say Nigerians are one of the happiest people in the world. The truth is that, are we truly happy? Or we are assumed to be happy? So there's an increase in the rate of depression globally. Not only in Nigeria, there's a sporadic increase because people were boxed up in hostile environment and toxic relationships. Hence, you can also know why there was increase in gender-based violence. Children also discovered the type of parents they were living with during this period because who they thought they were weren't who they were at the end of the day because they found out their parents quarrel easily, fight easily, they became very hostile. And let's not forget those that are naturally, their personality is extroverted. They couldn't fathom why they have to be in lockdown, why they have to be working from home, why they couldn't go out. And of course, clubs were closed, bars were closed, restaurants were closed, cinemas were closed. But again, now things are gradually opening up, which is a good thing. But those that are already at risk became more vulnerable than before. And those already living with mental illnesses, especially depression, became a major issue. And of course, E, which is expressing suicidal thought, became, was on an increase. In our organization, one of the services we deliver is Employees Assistance Program, which is a support service for corporate organization. Currently, we are serving over 100,000 Nigerian employees and their families. I can tell you for free, some of the things we discover, because it runs as a call center, and sometimes people have to come in if they think that calling is not may not work for them, or when they call, we tell them to come in. People had panic attacks. People couldn't sleep. People were dealing with issues, and nobody will forget easily the day that the NSAS period, 2010-2020. That also came as a major issue that people had to face. So increase in experiencing suicidal thought was another problem people were not dealing with. We received over 5,000 calls for people that were suicidal. We had to sometimes go to people's homes to bring them in middle of the night, damning the consequences of what was happening as because we just knew that if we don't do anything, this person before morning might have taken his to our life. It was that bad. And we had to put in more and more strategy. When people said they were downsizing the number of staff in the organization, we were taking in more staff within our organization to meet up with the demands of people that were calling in and working in on a face-to-face value. The AMA is maladaptive coping mechanism. This is common among the men. I'm not saying the women don't have it, but the men had more because of the increase in the rate of cigarette, increase in the rate of alcohol injection. Dr. Catherine talked about tobacco, and that is a huge, huge problem. From statistics, they're telling us 5 million Nigerians are using it, and about 310 Nigerians die weekly from taking tobacco. I was on Channels News this morning talking about World No Tobacco Day, which is 31st of May this year, 2 days to come. And people were surprised that I was saying that about 310 Nigerians die weekly from tobacco smoking. They couldn't believe it because the culture has accepted the fact that smoking and cigarettes is something that we should just accept. But those are lifestyle issues that can impact our health negatively. The I here is impaired thought processes. I'm still talking about the acronym for how the COVID-19 affected us mentally. The I here is impaired thought processes. This is where the conspiracy theories come in. You know, this virus was 5G, 7G, then now the vaccine. No, it is changing our DNA and all the conspiracy theories that come with it. It's a way to show that some people's impaired processes are just not in order at this point. But again, are there some reasons? Are their questions valid? Who knows? There are so many things that we don't know about this virus. It's a novel virus and things are changing. The last but not the least is C, which is confusion. Even the WHO was confused. Initially, don't use face masks. Okay, start using face masks. Oh, it's surgical. No, now use the Ankara one. Oh, now you can use double. Oh, now, since 1 out of every 5 Americans has been vaccinated, stop using face masks, right? It wasn't airborne, it's not airborne. And so many things that, you know, the COVID-19 virus brought into book. So if you don't remember anything today, what in this word pandemic affected you during this period? Is it the P, which is panic? Is it the A, which is anxiety and fear? Is it the N, which is not sleeping and eating well? Is it the D, which is depression? Is it the E, which is experiencing suicidal thought? Is it the M, which is maladaptive coping mechanism? The I, which is impaired thought process? And last but not the least, the C, which is confusion. Some of us are still there battling, but within this period, 2-3 new terminologies came in. COVID-somnia and coronasomnia. And if you're wondering what is COVID-somnia, what is coronasomnia, it just shows that people are there still doing a lot of studies telling us that the way this disruption came in, it could mean that there's a new terminology for those not sleeping well. They're having coronasomnia or COVID-somnia. Take that aside. Reason be that the homeschooling, the working remotely, the way the brain function it depicts the fact that when you are at work, the brain goes to that work mode. And when you are home, the brain goes to the home mode. But right now, people are still working remotely. So where do you now want the brain to function in? It has adapted to an extent knowing that you are at home all the time or most of the time, but online working and schooling and doing whatever you have to do. But it became another stressor to people, and that became an issue. Another word I want us to take away is the fact that we have a middle child for mental health continuum. Sometimes you find out that you are not depressed, but you are not flourishing. And what is that middle child for mental health continuum? It's called languishing. So ask yourself, if you're on this forum today, are you languishing? Do you feel languished? What does that literally mean? When you are not motivated to do things anymore, when you have those mood swings, feel sad with changes in sleeping and eating pattern, when you wake up in the morning by 6 a.m., before you get up to go and do anything, you will be on your phone, you'll be on social media, like 3-4 hours, you are there just languishing, not productive. So it is not a word we all have to look into, not necessarily saying, oh, I think I don't know what is wrong with me, or I don't know what is happening to me. Maybe you're just feeling languished. Maybe you're just languishing. And it's a word that we all have to go back online, check it out, look at these symptoms are talking about: apathy, lack of motivation, no interest in things ordinarily you love to do. It comes on and off like mood swings, but they are not core symptoms of depression that we are nipping on board today. Now, within this period, what are the mental challenges that we are maybe aware of or maybe not aware of? There are 5 major issues that we are facing within this period. The first on the round is sleeping issues. a lot of us have our sleeping cycle distorted. The medics or the people in the health sector will tell you circadian rhythm of sleep. That is for those on that side, but I'm not going to bring any medical jargon right here. I'm just letting people know there's something regarding sleep. And once you are not sleeping well, it makes you not productive. It affects your day-to-day activities. It affects your intra and interpersonal relationship. That is topmost on the rank. That is one symptom people kept complaining about, calling about. I need to sleep. I have to sleep. I'm not sleeping well. Some people went as far as they started buying Lexotan and Valium. And so please, we are 81 on this forum right now. Taking myself out, the other 80 members, if you have found yourself buying Lexotan or using Valium to aid sleep, please disease from it right now. Those medications are highly, highly addictive. Even if they give it to you in the hospital, they will tell you take it for 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. Please, I beg of you, don't go back to go and buy them yourself. You are doing harm to yourself. Serious harm, because when you become addicted, it will take rehabilitation to take away that habit that you have. You saw yourself gradually going into it, because before addiction setting, tolerance, dependence. You will have to increase the dosage of this medication to get the required desired effect. And of course, you definitely have to start neglecting gradually all other activities of daily living just to focus on this. So addiction is never an event, it's actually a process. So number one is sleep issues. Number two is anxiety. Anxiety is a normal emotion, right? But the truth is that when it pours out, it can start making you have panic attacks. A lot of people had panic attacks during this period. The statistics are still ongoing. We are working on that behind the scenes. But quite a number of people, that chest tightness, difficulty in breathing, thinking the world is coming to an end. Some people that are hypertensive actually thought they were having a heart attack or a cardiac arrest. People ran to the cardiac center. The cardiac doctors send them back to us. It's anxiety, it's a panic attack. Go back to Dr. Kadri. You are not a cardiac case. So those are some of the things that, happen this period. But again, it becomes an anxiety-related problem when it starts affecting your day-to-day activities, when it starts making you unproductive, when it starts affecting your interpersonal relationship with people. That is the second mental problem we found during this period. The third one is depression. Will I say it again? Depression is such a word that we use loosely. Sometimes we are sad. We are like, I'm depressed. So please, let me correct you and let me correct everyone. You aren't depressed. And I'm not going to say back to sender, it is not my portion. No, I'm not doing that on this platform. I'm just letting you know, up until you have been assessed, evaluated by a doctor, most likely a psychiatrist, you aren't depressed. You are sad. Something is making you sad, or you are languishing. You are not. What can make you depressed is when you begin to start having, sadness, which is not a day or two, but sadness ongoing for a minimum of 2 weeks. So there's a duration. So maybe there's something reason why you are feeling sad. You've been laid off job, or you didn't get that alert you wanted to get, or you have a relationship issue. It is not depression, it is sadness. So it has to be ongoing for at least 2 weeks before you can say it is a symptom. And sadness is not synonymous with depression. Sadness is a symptom of depression. Another symptom you have to watch out for is a low energy level. You wake up, you don't even want to you don't want to do anything. You hide under the duvet. Even if there's no light, there's no fan, you would just lie down in the room. You don't want to talk to people. You are socially withdrawn. You don't want to interact. Low energy level. The third one is loss of interest in things ordinarily you love to do. Those that want to watch the Premier League, you won't take the remote. For the men, the Premier League is a big thing. You even want to take the remote. You even want to look at TV. For the women, of course, we love TV, African Magic, Telemundo, because there's literally no party or one bed that you want to go and bask in, right? But these other ones that you love to do, you don't even, you don't have interest. Those that have children, you start neglecting them. So those are the three classical symptoms of depression. But there are so many numerous minor symptoms that they can even mimic malaria. So sometimes You may think you have malaria, but there are minor symptoms of depression. So the moment you start doctor shopping, hospital shopping, there is a problem. Meaning you have to start moving from one doctor to another, moving from one hospital to another, just to get answers. Even when they're telling you that there's no problem, there is a problem. Meaning what you are going through emotionally can manifest in the physical form with headaches, with body pains, with chest tightness. So these are some of the things we have to look out for. It can become worse when you start feeling hopeless, worthless, and helpless. Those are the times when suicidal thoughts come in. So suicide is highly linked to depression. And for every 40 seconds, somebody somewhere in the world is dying from suicide. And that is the reason why we can never talk less of people that get depressed. Depression is the highest in the disability burden right now in the world. So we need to understand that when people get depressed, you as a family member or a loved one, don't be in denial, help them get help. And please don't trivialize their symptoms, because that's another thing we also find out. Everybody is depressed, yours is not different. Hello? Don't trivialize their symptoms, because if they're already suicidal, you just further reenact the fact that they are not loved and they kill themselves. So people that kill themselves don't really want to kill themselves. They just want the pain to go away. So if you cannot do anything for them, just one thing you do for them, I am here. Or you listen to them non-judgmentally. Listening to them non-judgmentally just means that listen to them to understand them. Don't listen to them to respond. You may have the answers, but don't listen to them to respond. Listen to them so that you understand the point that they are coming from. That's the third one. The fourth one is substance abuse. Dr. Catherine talked a lot about tobacco, but of course we have alcohol, marijuana, and some people that are deceiving themselves, they are taking shisha and all that. The truth is all these things have chemicals. So even the electronic nicotine delivery system, yes, they say nicotine is the addictive substance. We also have the electronic non-nicotine delivery system. Those ones may not have the nicotine, but they are still harmful to our health. Alcohol is culturally acceptable to a large extent, but the truth is that we are all unique. Our brains are different, so you do not know what will affect your own brain. You may have an uncle who has been taking alcohol, taking marijuana for the past 30 years, nothing has happened to him. Something may never happen to him. But what about you? Take it for 1 week and you're already on the street removing your clothes. So please understand that these things affect us differently, because our recovery is a personal journey. The last but not the least on that list, sleep issues, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, is the fact that we have other mental illnesses that people are not looking into. And what are those things? Issues with bipolar and schizophrenia. They may not be as prominent as these other ones, but we do understand that bipolar, some people even use the word loosely like depression and say, oh, I think it's bipolar. No, like I said earlier on, please don't label somebody that is bipolar. Don't make somebody feel as if he has a mental illness, except that person is living with that mental illness. And even if you know, try as much as possible to be empathic. Discrimination and stigma against people living with mental illnesses do not encourage help-seeking behavior. It's high time we build a culture of compassion whereby people can speak up, speak out, and get the much needed help that they need. So for me, I came in here to round up. I didn't come here to put, because I know the question and answer session will come in. Another thing we also need to take away from this is that stress is not our biggest issue. We are stressed about so many things. And an acronym again for stress. So I've talked about pandemic, PANDEMIC. An acronym again for stress I want also us to take away and relate to it is the fact that the first S could be you, self-inflicted. When you start being pessimistic and negative self-talks about yourself. You go online and see people that sharing pictures about being to Turkey, being in Dubai, and you think that you are losing out. The fear of missing out is our biggest problem. You are not missing out. Do your own thing. There's some information that, or a season that you are in, you do not need a loudspeaker. People will tell you, walk in silence and let your success make noise. Just be in your space, mind your business. Dr. Rupert talked about it. Sip your water. Take water. Don't go and be making it look as if I'm losing, I'm dying. Oh, people are Dr. Martin, please let me drink the water. Even if it's still you're drinking, drink it. Let people know that take your water, mind your business, you'll be fine. So the first S is self-inflicted. You would think people are doing, you don't know what is happening to them. It may be audio. Before you know what is happening, social media is taking, this person is wanted by EFCC, and you've been envying him or her. No. The second one is T, out of the stress factor, traumatic life experiences. A lot of us here have been traumatized. In fact, I would say, or boldly, because from childhood, we've been facing one trauma or the other. COVID-19 came, all of us became collectively traumatized. So what is your current trauma? What are you dealing with as it is right now? The R here is relationship issues. 8 out of 10 women that are in psychiatric hospital is based on relationship problem. Relationship with father and mother, with sibling, with husband, with colleagues. So you find out you'll be wondering, why are women in psychiatric hospital this much? A lot is going down on our relationship. We are very emotional. No, we put all our energy into something and then somebody will not disappoint you. So not that men don't have relationship issues, but women are topmost on that round. The E, STR, yes, relationship. E is economic and financial factors. I don't know about you, but hey, that is one of my economy. Everybody's just trying to, survive amidst the chaos and cope and, mitigate their risk and save for the raining day. So economic and financial issues. And of course, that's E. The second S is sickness. Even if you are not ill, a loved one, family members, women, we also have a lot that we carry on board with our loved ones, elderly ones that we take care of. If a child is not feeling fine, you are the one. So that is another big factor that can stress you. The last S, and not the least, is schooling and work. Homeschooling, working remotely. So which one of these STRESS is your major problem right now? It may not be that big, but it's something that may be stressing you. Remember, 90% of the reason why you visit your primary healthcare physician is because you are stressed. 90% why you see the doctor is because you are stressed. It could be self, it could be trauma, it could be relationship-based, it could be economic or financial, it could be sickness, or it could be school or work. So find out what is stressing you. And in managing that, before I round up in the next 2 minutes, there are the 5 A's. So I talked about the acronym pandemic. I'm talking about the acronym stress. Now the last acronym, no, the second to the last acronym I'm bringing on board is the 5 A's. The first in managing stress is awareness. You must be aware of what it is before you can manage it. If you don't know what is stressing you, how can you manage it? If it's a human being that is stressing you and this person is always in your circle, if you kill, you go to jail. But now you know that this human being is the one stressing you. You now make it a win-win situation whereby you may dine with the person at arm's length, or you modify your relationship with that individual to make sure that that person is not stressing you. I know when I give this lecture, a lot of people will ask me, what if it's my husband that's stressing me? What if it's my wife that's stressing me? I'm not here to talk about divorce. Rather, I'm in a system where I build homes. And so definitely I'm not telling you to divorce or one start quarreling with your wife unnecessarily. Remember, if there are children in that home, they will suffer it. Why? Because you are giving them a vulnerability risk factor. So find ways to help yourself, manage that situation. And there's nothing wrong in going for couples or marital counseling. There's absolutely nothing wrong. If you're having challenges with your spouse and you think it's breaking your home, go for that. It's very key. So another thing again is that the second A is, before we even go to the second A, one other A that people always use that is wrong is avoid stress. Please, as we are out on this forum, don't try to avoid stress. I know sometimes you use it and you forget that, oh, I use it. Now I'm reminding you, don't avoid stress. Do you know why? You can never completely avoid stress, because even when you sleep, your heart is pumping oxygenated blood around your body. Your brain is functioning. Your lungs are working. So how can you completely avoid stress? You can only completely avoid stress when you are 6 feet below or you're in the morgue. So you cannot completely avoid stress. But what can you do? The other 3 A's. You can adjust, you can adapt, you can accept. So these are the 5 major A's in managing stress. Awareness, don't avoid, because completely, instead of avoiding, work towards what is it that's, what am I dealing with? Adjust to it. There's a physical meeting, send me link, let me join online. you've adjusted, you've adapted, you know what I mean? Then accepting it. You can be in traffic and the cars are not moving. Will you carry your car and put on your head? No. Will you abandon your car? Then what do you do at that point in time? Call loved ones that you have not called before. Listen to a podcast. Listen to FM radio. If a driver is driving you and the traffic is just killing you, come out. But just make sure the environment you are going to walk, you will take your walking is safe. If it's not safe, sit in your car and lock the doors. Don't say Dr. Memuna said you should come out and be trekking. Don't go and trek in an unsafe environment, because if anything happens to you, please, disclaimer, I didn't say you should walk in an unsafe environment. It's a way to also help you. While you are taking that walk, you are boosting your endorphins. So the last but not the least, as I round up today, is an acronym I believe each and every one of us deserve. This life is to be enjoyed, not endured. So what is that mantra with regards to you as an individual, thriving, not only surviving, finding joy in the jungle? The word is self-care. Self-care is a word that each and every one of us need to take away from this forum. And how do you devise ways to take care of yourself? The S here is self-awareness. I talked about awareness under the management of stress, right? But you as an individual, you must be self-aware. What are my stressors, Memuna? What are the things that stress me out? And if you look at it, you do a stress journal. Within 2 weeks or 1 month of putting down a stress journal, you start seeing your stressors. You start seeing the time of the day. I remember a time I did my stress journal, which I now do regularly. I found out that between 12 to 1 p.m. on a particular month, I'm always stressed. I had to go back to my table to find out what was that thing that was always stressing me out. I found out that there's a particular program I was taking. And that point, we always go online with our lecturers. And it was a major stress because I had to start doing other things around to make sure that that time is open for that meeting. And it was a major stress for me. So you must know what is stressing you. So self-awareness is the S. E is exercise. We've talked about exercise here today. Dr. Rupert talked about it. Please don't underestimate the benefits of exercise. Exercise is so huge that when you do it right, managing fear, anxiety, and mild cases of depression, they will help you out. Why? Because when you exercise, it boosts up your feel-good hormones, which are endorphins. We need that. You get revamped, re-energized, renewed when those feel-good hormones are boosted. And the type of exercise I'm talking about, I'm not talking that you should go and be like Usain Bolt or Mary Oyale or Blessing Okagbari. No, there's no Commonwealth. There's no Olympic Games. What we're asking of you is brisk walk, power walk. I'm telling you, just move. You are not a tree. Just move. Dance to gospel music, whatever it is. Oh, I have limited space. Move around your room. You are fine. If you can skip, skip. So the E here is exercise. The L here is one of our biggest issues. Me, these days, I only go online to do 1 or 2 things, is limit your exposure to excessive news and social media. When you enter CNN, Al Jazeera, and BBC, hey, this one is dying today. That one, there's an earthquake. Oh, Gaza Strip. Oh, this. With my own money, with my television, with my NEPA, in Nigeria we call NEPA, and then I will not be entering and turning on my TV and then other. No, go there only when you are sound, you feel that you need to know that information. I put on TV these days, headlines, move on to other things. Social media is another big issue. Learn how to remove notification, because as I'm speaking now, if I have notification on my phone, because my phone is right beside me, I'm likely going to be, people will see me in a way, they wonder, what is she looking at? Because that's a distraction. And if there's any social media platform that's not serving you mentally, uninstall it. It's your money, it's your phone, it's your data. No pressure. If WhatsApp is your problem, remove it. If you are not on Twitter, congratulations, because that Twitter, I know those people that are on Twitter, they know what I'm talking about. They have their court there. They have their judges, they have their jury, they can drag anybody. Nobody is undraggable on Twitter. So there are certain places you want to be that you know that mentally and your personality trait does not go with it. Please limit your limit exposure to excessive news and social media. The F here is find and engage in pleasurable activities. Gardening, sewing. Now we can visit people, connect with, talk to people, Find and engage in those pleasurable activities. They help you out. They keep your mind fresh, more positive, and you find out that your goals, you are more focused in them. So SELF. Now the CARE, which is the care. C is connect. Connect with loved ones. You are not an island. No. Social interaction is good for our holistic wellness. Connect with people that will uplift you. People that will not bring their negative vibes. People around me know that at night, don't bring bad news to me. Even my children, my husband knows. When there's something bad, there's a bad news you want to tell me, wait till morning. Don't, because emotions are contagious. Your thoughts influence your emotions influence your behavior. By the time you are telling me, so Yasikira died, excuse me, I want to sleep. In the night, you are giving me bad news. Don't. I'm already living in a sector where bad news can come in at any point in time, running a hospital, right? So save your bad news. In the morning, my waking hours is 18 hours a day. I sleep 7 hours. So why do you want to tell me bad news in the night when I'm getting ready to sleep? So please, while you connect, make sure you're connecting with the right set of people. A here is a big issue when it comes to our men globally. Worst among Africans and I don't know the English to use now, worst among Nigerian men. A, yes, ask for help. Asking for help is a sign of strength, please, and it's never a sign of weakness. When you are in trouble, ask for help before it become a catastrophe or become a crisis. Asking for help is something that you should be free to do. But again, you tell me, I don't think I should ask for help from anyone. Of course, you shouldn't ask for help from everyone. No. Not everybody that will give you the ideal solution. So ask for help from the right people. And of course, the R here is rest and sleep. Let me hammer on this one. Let me nip this in the bud. There is no award for the busiest person on earth. No medal. Nobody is going to give you a Grammy or an Oscar. So stop making excuses and saying, I don't have time to sleep. Do you know, if you've ever been to a burial where there's a 1 minute silence, please start that today. It's never a 1 minute silence. 30, 40 seconds. Amen, amen, and we move on. That job you think that you are irreplaceable, somebody will be promoted immediately to take over your job. Your children, you think that, I'm the only one for them. You die, somebody will take over your children. Oh, the men, I'm the one, I'm very busy, I cannot sleep. You die, your wife will remarry. I'm sorry. So rest and sleep is good. When you rest and sleep, it will help you rejuvenate, revamp, get renewed. It's very important. And the last but not the least is eating right. COVID came, everybody said, boost your immunity, eat right. Please don't just eat to lose weight. Eat right for everything that has to do with you. You have to eat. But of course, eat the right diet, the adequate and proper diet, eat the right meals. So with these 4 acronyms I've said here today, I'm sure nobody is going to go home without picking one out of these 4 acronyms. From pandemic to stress to the 5 A's, and of course, the last but not the least, self-care. In my final words, I want to let each and every one of us know, you are your own biggest asset. If you don't take care of yourself, you'll be useless to yourself and you'll be useless to others. So it's high time we begin to prioritize ourselves, because self-care is not selfishness, but self-preservation. What you don't have, you can't give. You can never operate from a place of deficit. So be more emotionally bankable. The way you drop your naira, your dollar, your pounds in the bank, learn how to put these self-care tips into your bank to be more emotionally bankable. So when you need them, it will be high time to withdraw from that emotional bank. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take care of yourself, who will? And if not now, then when? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kadiri. You are a moving encyclopedia of acronyms. Very useful when you have acronyms, even for non-medical people. You can remember things so much better when you have acronyms. And thank you. You've given
Hello, ma. I think we have a problem with Dr. Moye's network. Can you hear us, ma?
You know, pandemic.
Oh, wow. Okay, ma. We weren't hearing you before, ma.
Oh, I don't know what you heard and what you didn't hear. Let me quickly say again, and please forgive me if it's repetition, because I don't know where you stopped hearing me. I was thanking Dr. Kadri for being a moving encyclopedia of acronyms, and she's giving us 4. The pandemic one, another one to manage, to know when what stress is about, another one to manage the stress, the 5 A's, and the final one was self-care. And I'm also appealing to everyone to please, I crave your indulgence to be patient. We are running late, but I think you will agree with me that there's a lot to learn. There's so many questions to answer, and I've seen the questions. They are very pertinent questions, and you will learn a lot from the answers. I want to appeal to our panelists for the questions. If there are some, you can write the answers on the chat, please do, so that we can save time. Before I ask the first, throw the first question to the panelists, I want to specially recognize the presence of Dr. Blessing Chukwukelu. She is a chief consultant family physician at Echo Hospital, Lagos, and the president of Society of Family Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos Zone. At the same time, I want to welcome all members of the Society of Family Physicians of Nigeria, wherever you are in Nigeria, Lagos, Abuja, Ibadan, wherever you are, you're most welcome. I also want to especially welcome Dr. Peggy Orume from NHS England, National Health Service England. She's a GP of many, many years, and my classmate, Dr. Peggy, and she loves Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. There's no program we have that she does not attend. So thank you for coming. Thank you so much. And all consultants in the building, in the room, whether it's a family medicine, internal medicine, ONG, whatever medicine, please, you're most welcome. Again, most welcome to all members of the media and the Nollywood and everyone in the entertainment industry here. So we're going to go very quickly now to the questions. 2 people raised up their hands. We have questions on the chat box. We have people who have raised up their hands, and I will ask. Maybe okay, Mr. Eugene Anakwenze. Dr. Jonathan has asked this question: what can be done to curtail adverts on this? I'm sure he was asking about tobacco among our teenagers and young adults. This is to Dr. Catherine Egbe. What can be done to curtail adverts?
Thank you, Dr. Monye. Can I?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I was actually typing a response, and then I said I would have loved to to respond to that
go ahead.
Live. So I think that, I mentioned about the WHO SCTC. One of the articles is to help or to direct governments to put in place laws to prevent sales of tobacco products to and by minors. To minors, in the sense that when they go to buy tobacco products, if they are 18 or less than 18, in some countries that has been pushed up to 21. So in Nigeria, and I think all African countries, if I can remember clearly, maybe Uganda is, the new law in Uganda, I'm not very sure if it says tobacco 21, but most countries, they have their law that prevents people under 18 from being able to buy tobacco products. The FCTC also says we should not let people less than 18 sell these products as well. The law in Nigeria actually prohibits people, minors, from selling or buying tobacco products. Like I mentioned during my talk, The problem is implementation. We know that in our settings, our parents who smoke would send kids to go and buy tobacco products. Uncles, senior brothers would send kids to go and buy tobacco products. The onus is on the government to prevent that from happening. As a parent, what I would suggest that one should do is to tell your kids that if anybody sends you to buy tobacco products, please do not go. Because based on my research, my personal research that I conducted when I was doing my PhD, I found out that some people started smoking even when they were going on errands to buy cigarettes. They try it. So for me, that is the best way that you can do. We rely on the government to put the law. It has done that, but implementation is poor. So as parents, you have to educate your kids to say, don't touch this product. If any uncle or any auntie sends you to buy these products, let me know. Don't go on that errand. That way you are protecting the child. I'll stop it there.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go quickly to the next question. And this is to Dr. Rupa. Dr. Rupa, how can we medical doctors live a healthier life, considering the nature of our jobs, which makes it harder to maintain good diet, have sound sleep, and be physically active? I mean, I lend my voice to this because we have all trained as doctors and many of us as residents in different specialties. We take calls, we do shift work, and there's many times when I did my residency in pediatrics at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital in Fulham in London. That was when I was doing 72 hours call. I mean, it doesn't happen anymore because a doctor died and, that was stopped from doing that. So how can we actually give us some tips as busy doctors, residents, and so on? How can we live a healthy life?
Thank you, Dr. Ifri. It's a brilliant question. And I think we mustn't forget that we are actually role models for our patients. And they have actually done studies that show that physician health has a direct impact on our patients. So if we're overweight or if we're smokers, our patients are less likely to listen to our advice. So we do have a duty anyway, intrinsic to our job, to role model correctly. We're always putting other people first, aren't we? We're always putting patients first, our families. But we do need to give ourselves some attention for all the reasons that all three of us have said today. And I guess ask yourself the question, what's making it hard for you to put in place good lifestyle changes? What are your barriers, your roadblocks? And challenge your own status quo and your narrative that you're having about why you're not exercising or not eating well. So I guess some tips would be try to increase your incidental activity. So try to weave it into your day. So I'll let you into a secret. Whilst our lovely speakers have been talking, I've actually been walking. I'll tell you, I have walked 5 kilometers during this presentation, and I've not broken my concentration. I haven't missed out on anything. I've made notes, but so I've increased it that way. The other way you could maybe think about doing it in your clinic is getting a standing desk, so you're on your feet a little bit more, and you can walk around while you're calling a patient, for example, or while you're reading something. Again, just increasing that incidental activity, parking further away from your clinic, taking public transport, and then also just try to diarize your activity. Actually put it in the diary that this is when you're going to do your strength exercise, this is when you're going to make time for some aerobic exercise. And then food, the other big area is it's planning. I'm afraid it comes down to planning. So if you're going to be doing a very heavy week, write out what you want for lunch and your breakfast. Prepare it, have it ready in the fridge and take it along with you. So I hope those couple of tips, do help you. And as Dr. Mamuna said, we want to thrive, not just survive. We have a duty to ourselves and our patients.
So much, Rupa. Thank you. I like when you say we should challenge a status quo. We should easy and quick way that time we spend on social media. And there are so many social media. Okay. Hello. Oh dear. Dr. Moyo, can everyone hear me?
So we can hear you now, ma.
Okay, wow. Okay, you know what? I want to also just spend, I was talking about time we spend on social media. Remember, WhatsApp is social media. But I had a stressful incident this afternoon, and I'm still having it, where my network just refused to connect. If you all notice, I wasn't able to join at the beginning. And you know what? I tried from about 12:30 this afternoon all the way to 2:30. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to get stressed. I kept communicating with Dr. Moyo and saying, Dr. Makinde, just carry on. You know, I'm not going to let this bother me. Whenever the network, cooperates, I'll jump right in. And if it doesn't, good. I'll watch it on YouTube. But even though I wanted to be here, so if I keep coming and going, that's fine. I'm okay. I refuse to be stressed about that. Okay, thank you so much. Right. So let's go again back to the question and answer. Dr. Kadiri, somebody is asking about depression in teenagers. Is Dr. Kadiri still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Perfect. So Dr. Kadiri, kindly talk about depression in teenagers. How can parents help? Please give us very quick and short answers so that we can go to the other questions. Good. Lots of kids are depressed.
Thank you very much for asking that question. It's highly overlooked and highly underestimated. I will tell you for free, children also get depressed. But as a parent, a guardian, a teacher, one thing you have to look out for, one word I want to give you today is change. What has changed in your child yesterday as against today? You must look for that change. Your child became irrational, or your child became erratic, or your child is no longer coming for breakfast table or dinner table that all of you normally see as a family thing. There's a change. Nip it in the bud. Why that change? Because children will not present with those classical symptoms I talked about earlier on. One other very important way is the child doing well academically or not? A lot of times when they're depressed, academic performance is another thing you should watch out for. And it boils down to change too. So look at it. Is your child withdrawing from activities? Is your child now becoming, sometimes it's not even withdraw, it may be the reverse, becoming more irritable, expressing anger, irritability. You have to look into that. Sleep and appetite changes may not be the core symptoms. Children sometimes even have more of the positive symptoms, which is excessive sleep, excessive appetite. And if your child is slim, you'll be happy. Oh, my child is not eating well. He has increased in size and he has increased in weight. The world is changed. And when they eventually, you notice that there's a change, please act on it. Don't be in denial. And if the child comes to you to tell you that, Dad, Mom, I think I need therapy, or I think I need to see a professional psychologist, please stop. Don't start giving them reason why they shouldn't think that way. Quite a number of parents that come to us will tell us that, I pay school fees for him. He's living under my roof. I feed him. I clothe him. We go for summer. That is not what they want. Millennials and Generation Z are the therapy generation. So they will come to you and tell you exactly what they want. Being in denial will lead to a poorer outcome. And trivializing their issues is not going to help you. When you come on time, parents, guardians, and teachers on the forum, it's not all about medication. It may just be counseling and psychotherapy, not necessarily green, yellow, and blue pills. But if there is a need, please don't pill shame your child or start exhibiting emotional involvement. Don't go to the kitchen before you go and take a knife and harm yourself. Those are some of the things I want us to know about. I know of a 9-year-old who has killed himself, not in UK, not in US, in Nigeria. I know of a 14-year-old who came back from crossover with his parents December 31st to January 1st, and he hung himself right under his parents' roof and left them a suicide note. When I'm gone, look for Dr. Kadri. It will help people to grieve and find closure. That was how I came in. I didn't know this child because they go on Google, they search. But from hindsight and from the information we got, he had told his parents long ago, 3 to 6 months ago, I need to talk to a psychologist. And they started telling him they are paying some amount in dollars, your school fees, you go for summer. Please, children get depressed, but depression is treatable, beatable, and manageable.
Thank you so much. That was that last bit was really chilling, isn't it? It's a situation, and children.
Okay, I think the network has gone airy again. Looking at the chat box, I think there are a few more questions. I'm trying to scroll through.
There's a lot of depression, and parents, some children begin to even act difficult, stubborn. Please, let's quickly, Dr. Rupa, there's a question and says, can we say?
Dr. Rupi, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat it, please?
Can you hear me, Dr. Rupa?
I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, so the question is, can we say that the stress of our job as doctors can be equated to increased physical activity? For example, standing long hours during surgeries, sitting long hours during consultations. Okay, go ahead, answer that.
The question is, does sitting or standing equate to poorer health, essentially? Is that the question?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I think you need to take a step back and just zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. I mean, standing for long hours, I can't think of many things that it would sort of lead to anything adverse, for example. I mean, it might increase your risk of varicose veins if you're predisposed to them, but standing per se, no. Sitting for long hours, yes, we know that is linked to poorer health, and we should certainly, I think Dr. McKinday actually pointed out that we should be standing up every 20 to 30 minutes, certainly, because if we don't, our cells do start to sort of die away if we just sit for prolonged periods. So certainly sitting, absolutely. And also around those, what are the health behaviors around sitting less? You're more likely to put physical activity first, and does that translate to a poorer diet because you haven't got time to be standing or walking or preparing better food? So does that answer the question? I'm not sure whether it does, but if it doesn't, please do say.
Thank you very much. And there's a question from the Q&A box that says, my question is this from Sunday Longe. How much are we doing in advocacy, especially in schools, to help improve the lifestyle of the young, especially to catch them young when it comes to alcohol and tobacco use? I don't know what's happening in South Africa, but I'm sure this is a question for Nigeria. And this is a place where the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria sits very firmly on, as well as many centers for lifestyle medicine, and that are non-governmental organizations that have programs in schools. So that is happening. Lifestyle medicine is quite new and quite young. And at this point, we're going around for advocacy visits, awareness visits to the policymakers, because if it is only when they understand what we're about and what it's about that they can buy in and support whatever programs we suggest. So we are still at very early stage, but here is one appeal as the president of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria, I want to make to everyone under the sound of my voice. Please, if there is any way at all you can volunteer your time, your efforts, whatever it is, especially the person who asked this question, to join the Society of Lifestyle Medicine, to move into schools, looking at their lifestyle and like you said, catching them early, teaching them how to eat properly, teaching them about physical activity, about their mental health and so on. Please get in touch with us and we'll be very happy to work with you. Lots of thanks. Lots of people have said thank you to the presenters. You've all done amazing presentations. Many of us attend webinars and international webinars at that, and this is at the highest level anyone can think of. I'm very proud of everyone who has presented. I'm very proud of the Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. Thank you so much, everyone. I don't know if there's any question that we have missed out. Mr. Victor Okai has commented an excellent job. And also somebody else, I can't remember who said that if we should listen to young people without being judgmental, that will help. Okay, it was also him, Mr. Victor, who said empathy and a listening non-judgmental company can help people with depression. Okay, there are raised hands. Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Victor Okai, you raised your hand. Do you want to take it away with your questions?
Yes, please. I just want to say this. I think it's very important because I see a lot of similarity between physicians and people in my industry, standing for long hours, working till late in the night and all of that. I want to profile what might appear like a humorous solution to exercise for people who don't have time. If you are abroad, please, even if not for anything, attend an African church and just dance, enjoy the worship. Use it as an opportunity to exercise. On a serious note, I do that. I go to church and I deliberately move around and dance and believe, because I'm a bit sedentary in my lifestyle. So it's one way I catch up. During the week and on Sundays, I dance away and I just do it deliberately. I'm intentional about it. I don't know what it equates to, but I can assure you that it will do you a lot of good. Even if you are not gaining spiritually, just do it for the opportunity to exercise. But I can assure you it's good for both the spirit and for the body. That's on the one hand. Then secondly, I think it's important to let people know, another thing I want to say to you is, remember what I'm about to say now. And it came to pass. Okay? That sentence, as simple as it is, you will notice that everything you ever thought would kill you in life, the debt you were owing, that person that threatened you, that problem that seemed like it would crush you, it came and passed. This one too will come to pass. If you always remember that it came, it comes so that it will pass. Always remember that. With the benefit of hindsight, you will know that those things that threatened to kill you, when June 12 came, it came to pass. When all the problems came, and it came to pass. Always remember that. Truth is, if you worry, you can't solve the problem. If you can solve it, then you have no reason to worry. So just relax, go with the flow. You are not in charge of, if you can't do anything about it, then just leave it. Sorry if I'm bringing religion here, but my mantra, I rest all my, this is Psalm 37 verse 5. It says, commit your way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he will bring it to pass. Once you have committed it to him, don't worry about the rest. You go and sit like a little baby. If we behave like children, when they bring a big bill from school, the child just comes, drops it on the father's lap, and he goes and plays. That's the father's problem. In this case, let that problem be for God. Okay? Behave like a little child, and believe me, you will sleep well like a baby at night. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is so instructive. Thank you. And, dancing, you all know I love to dance. Dance in church, dance at home. Tell you something, yes. A little tip here. Every morning when I'm doing my makeup, I'm dancing. So, and that takes, I make sure I make up for at least 20 minutes. So I'm dancing. It's wonderful. With the exercise, the feel-good hormones, the endorphins are pumping up. Yeah. And that's why I'm bouncing all the time. That's the secret, in case some of you wondered. That's the secret. Thank you so much, sir, for that. Harrison Mate is joining us from New York, USA, and he has said, the benefits of healthy eating cannot be overemphasized, but in a society where meals and its components aren't calibrated, how do we balance our eating habits? Well, I don't know if any of the panelists want to take this on, or Dr. Moyo Sore, you want to, answer to this? Dr. Moyo has frozen.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you so much for that question. How do we balance our eating habits? There's so much to healthy eating. We have gone beyond what we call just a balanced diet, because when you're talking about a balanced diet, you're thinking about carbohydrates, you're thinking about protein, you're thinking about fats and oils and all of that. But now we're looking more about we're looking at over-consumed nutrients and under-consumed nutrients. So you want to look at what is in your diet that you're taking so much of that you want to reduce. For example, we have some things in our diet that have a lot of calorie, a lot of carbs, and the ones that hit your bloodstream very quickly and raise your blood sugar such that your body begins to pour out a lot of insulin to mop up the glucose. And before you know it, insulin is like a growth hormone. You begin to put on weight, and several other things happen. And sugar in itself causes a lot of inflammation. So you want to look at how you can reduce those things that are overconsumed. So you look at your diet. Where do I get these overconsumed carbs or nutrients from? And they come in a lot of our packaged foods, things that are processed that you get off the shelf. So you want to try and stick to foods that are largely homegrown from your farm, and you can take them straight to the kitchen. So you want to minimize the process that goes into it. Once you're able to do that, you're going to reduce the consumption of some of these overconsumed foods or nutrients. And then you want to look at the ones that you're not consuming well enough too. And most of the time, it's things like fiber, your nutrients like magnesium, calcium, potassium, manganese, and so many things like that. And you get those in your plants, in a largely plant-based diet. That's where you get all of that. So you want to increase your intake of fruits and vegetables. We're talking about the Global Lifestyle Medicine Week. We are also trying to challenge us to take at least 5 portions of fruits and vegetables in a day. I know it seems so hard. You know, some of my patients tell me, oh, these fruits have become so expensive, but we buy other things. You know how much we spend loading our phone every week, you know, with credit or doing other things. So, and a portion of fruits is just a medium size of that fruit. So you spread this out throughout the day. One medium size of apple, of orange, of cucumber, carrots, and you find out that you're improving, you know, the levels of those under-consumed nutrients. So, and aside from that, you want to reduce the intake of saturated fats, and we find that mostly in animal meats, especially those that are fried, those that are processed, like sausages, ham, all these burgers, they all contain a lot of saturated fat. So that's where we can get the balance, really. And look at your plate. In Europe, somebody was making fun, and the person said that, you know, in a particular tribe in Nigeria, we use the vegetable to eat the carb. So it's like the food is mainly the carb, and you're just using the vegetable, just a little bit of it, tiny bit of it, you're using it to eat the carb. But why don't we use the little carb to eat the vegetable? So your food is going to be a vegetable meal today, but you just put a little bit of basmati rice, you know. So that's where the balance comes in. There's so much to talk about, but because of time, we won't go into that for now, but you can follow us on social media, Society of Lifestyle Medicine of Nigeria. There's so much that we share about that.
Thank you so much. I've got Dr. Catherine Egberg. Your hands have been raised for a while. So can I invite you to please take it away?
Thank you, Dr. Monye. I just wanted to mention 2 things. Someone asked a question about help to quit. And it was something I just glided through when I was presenting. So I don't know if I can just share my screen so that you see something that I believe that the slides will be made available to the participants, right?
Yes, they will be. Thank
so
you.
definitely you would be able to see what I'm talking about there when you get the slide. This is Meet Florence. Meet Florence is the WHO's digital health worker that is supposed to help people to quit. So you can send, you can speak to Meet Florence, you can text Florence, and then she'll start a conversation with you to help you quit. I also recommend a website that is manned by the Cancer Association of South Africa. It's called Kickbutt. And if you register, it can guide you to help you to quit for those people who are looking for means to quit. And in relation to this, I also want to mention, because this is a forum where we have a lot of health practitioners, I want to say that many people have initiated quitting just because their doctors advised them to. So it is very important as healthcare practitioners that when you interact with patients who smoke, or you suspect that they smoke, ask them the question, do you smoke? And can you quit? Because quitting is helpful in all ramifications. So I would suggest that you do this, you do the, what do you call the 5 A's? The 5 A's, my slide is frozen again, I don't know. So the 5 A's, which is ask, advise, assess, assist, arrange, so that when you ask them about quitting, you'll be able to know whether they are ready to quit or not. And then you assist them. If they are not, if they are ready, you assist them, give them some means to help them quit if they can't quit cold turkey. And if they are not ready, you give them some motivational interviewing, just advice to help them consider quitting. And then they can arrange a quit date and possibly kick off quitting. And you can help them monitor, and just if they are frequent patients, for example, you can keep asking them when they come to see you, and that can motivate them to quit. I think I'd like to just put this out there so that it can help people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is really helpful. I've got two. Okay, I've got Eugene. Is Eugene Anakwenze still here? Your hand is still raised. No, I think he's not within hearing distance. Okay, we've got one more question and we're ready to go. Thank you so much. We want to appreciate your patience. It's incredible that so many people are still here from when we began. And that is, this final question is to Dr. Kadiri. And it's from Mr. Okay, who says, I have a 24-year-old who would stay indoors with her phone in her ears all day when she's around and will not relate to anyone no matter what we say or do. How does one deal with young adults like this? She stays all alone in her room with her phone in her ears. What do parents and family members do about this? And that's the last question. Dr. Kadiri. Okay. Technology has kicked her out? I think so. Oh, never mind, never mind, never mind. Okay. We've come to the end of this webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Particular thanks to our panelists, Dr. Rupa Jaswell from England, Dr. Catherine Egbe from South Africa, and our own dear Dr. Maimuna Kadri here in Nigeria. I want to also thank the organizations that they represent. Dr. Rupa, who is a member of the advisory board of at the Brookfield Center for Lifestyle Medicine. I want to thank Dr. Catherine Egbe, who is an associate of the Lifestyle Champions International. And I want to thank Dr. Kadiri, who represents the Byron Institute. Thank you, Society of Lifestyle Medicine, for the opportunity to put together this awesome event. Somebody has just given a last word to say this webinar was worth the time. Wow. Thank you so much, Johnson Olaniyi. And with that, remember, this too shall pass. When you go through stress, and this is my final word, when you go through stress, think about the caterpillar. Think about the caterpillar. See how ugly the caterpillar looks. just before it translates into a butterfly. And if you can, spend a moment studying the process, the pain the caterpillar goes through, and the stagnation, as it were, that it seems is happening while it's waiting to transform to be a butterfly. And then look at the butterfly that comes through. Oh my goodness, that is so nice. And when you face stress again, just remember that. Don't forget to dance while you make up or while you're in church. Take care, everyone. And until next time, please come again to our webinars. Follow us on our social media. Join us as a society. Next week, the entire week, we're celebrating the Lifestyle Medicine Global Week. It's all over the world, and we are doing a little one here in Nigeria, or a big one. Be on the social media with us. You will see everything that we're doing. Remember, one change at a time, and that is the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine mantra. One change at a time. Take a little change, do it. Is it your nutrition? Is it physical activity? Is it your sleep? Is it the way you manage stress? Is it the substances of abuse or toxic substances, tobacco, alcohol, and all of that? Or is it loving more and stressing less? Take one change, do it one at a time, get a hold of it, and then move on to the other one. Goodbye, everyone, and God bless you all. Dr. Moy, don't go anywhere. Goodbye, everyone. Love